All right, we're going to start the tutorial for the book I'm making for, it's the Echo Park Valentine's Day. I'm calling it a Happy Mail folio. It's a trifold folio. And so I'm trying to make it kind of a fun, like have some interaction with it. And so you'll see that I'm going to be adding like a tic-tac-toe board in there and some different things. So let's go ahead and get your chipboard prepped. So because it's a trifold, I wanted just each piece to be a hair shorter or less wide than each other. So the first one, which is going to be on my left-hand side, will be 6.5 by 8. The middle piece that's going to be in the back, I'm just going to make it a 1/16 of an inch shorter, so that's not as wide, just because I want a little bit of difference so that it folds up nicer. And then so that one's 6 7/16 by 8. And then that last one, I took off another 1/16 from the middle one, and now that's 6 3/8 by 8. So that's how I'm going to do the trifold, just so I can adjust for closing it better. Now, along with that, you're going to need 2 spine pieces. And those 2 spine pieces are 1.5 by 8. And I did keep the spine pieces the same width. Those are both 1.5 by 8. Okay. So the cardstock to wrap your chipboard covers, even though they're a 1/16 of an inch difference for each piece, I am going to just cut all of my cardstock the same for wrapping. And so those are going to be 8.5 by 10. So all 3 will be 8.5 by 10. So you'll just have a little bit of extra paper on the smallest one, but it won't be that noticeable. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. I've wrapped 2 of them, and you can see that when I wrap them, you try and get it as smooth as possible with nice crisp corners. You'll notice I also miter mine, so I have an angle cut on the corners rather than there's a different method you might be more comfortable with where you just cut out a square. I'll show you how I do mine. So I've done 2 of them. So I've done the middle one and the one on the right-hand side. Okay. So you can see there's a little bit more room. There's a little bit more paper on this one because it is 1/8 of an inch shorter than the one that's going to be on the left. Okay, so this is my first piece, the one that'll be on the left. This is the largest one at 6.5 by 8. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my paper on my scoreboard, and I want a 1-inch border on both the top and the side. And so I have this acrylic tool from Country Craft Creations. It does the measuring for me, so I don't have to keep going and cutting templates out of chipboard. So I have already put score tape on the back of my chipboard. This one, I don't have any more of the 1/8 inch score tape, so I'm just going to put a line of glue there, and that should take care of it. Probably doesn't make a difference if I don't put anything, but I'll do it just in case. So I'm taking the backing off, and then, like I said, I'm just going to put a line of glue in that one section. There we go. And you just bump it up against the side and the top there. And we're going to give that a firm burnish so that it adheres real nice and is real smooth. Okay. Now we are going to fold it up and over so that it knows where it's supposed to have a crease on all 4 sides. We're training our paper. And you do this the same exact way for the other 2 pieces that I've already completed. And because I want those crisp edges, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my scoring tool. Let me put the glue away here. I'm going to take my scoring tool, or my burnishing tool, and I'm just going to go around the edge of the chipboard just so that it has a real defined edge, so it looks nice and neat once we have it wrapped. Just pushing that right up against the chipboard. So it's a very defined line. Because, you know, the cover is the first thing people see, so we want that to be as neat and as nice as possible. All right, so then I'm going to take my mitering tool, and you don't have to have a tool. It's just to cut the triangle off in the corner, and you don't want to go exactly to the corner. You want about a 1/8 inch gap from the corner to where you slice it. So you can just take your scissors and cut. I just use this so that it's consistently the same. This is just something I've had for a long time. But you're taking the triangle off, and you have about a 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch from that corner. And you'll do that for all of your corners. There is another option where you can just take out the square on the corner, if that's something you're used to, or that's the method you prefer. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to use 1/4 inch score tape, and I'm going to put it along the perimeter of the chipboard along with the perimeter of the paper. And I'm just going to use this to trim that off. I've seen people use different things to trim off the tape just so that it's a nice clean line instead of jaggedy. I've seen credit cards. I've seen what else have I seen besides the credit card thing? I don't know. I just use that. It's meant for mitering, but I've never used it for that. I don't think I was smart enough to use it. I couldn't figure it out. Okay, so I'm also going to place the tape on the perimeter of our black wrap. This book would probably also look good in white too. I think black is just going to give it more of a pop, make it stand out a little bit more. A lot of the albums I do in black now. White is, I like the look of it, but sometimes my hands get too dirty when I'm working and I get marks on my paper, the white, and that kind of bothers me. So on your chipboard, you might want to do what I did, and I just marked on the actual chipboard which piece was going to be to the left, in the middle, and to the right. The largest one is on the left, then 1/16 smaller is in the middle, and then the one that ends up being 1/8 smaller from our original piece is on the right. Go ahead and make sure that your adhesive is burnished to the paper and the chipboard. And I work with the long sides first. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look for my, where's that tool at? Oh, there it is. So I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to just lift this up out of the way. Okay. And I'm going to place a line of glue up against the chipboard so that the paper adheres to it and has that smooth edge. And then I do put some in between my score tape and that chipboard. Just kind of let it sit there for a second so that the glue can kind of soak into the paper a little bit. And then you just bring your paper up and over and smooth it out. We definitely want smooth. And if you have any excess glue kind of ooze out, just go ahead and wipe that up. Now I got cloth there. And then I'm going to turn it on its side so that I can take my burnishing tool along the edge. And I work with the opposite long side next. This glue is right up against the chipboard. I'm going to take off this and fill in lift it up and over. All right, now the short ends, because I have mitered at an angle, I do want to push my these little excess in the corners. There's a little extra paper here, so I want to push that down and in to get it out of the way so that the corners are nice and sharp corners. So I just kind of push that extra down and in. And we'll repeat the same thing with the glue up against the chipboard and then in between. I just kind of push those down just to make sure they don't flop up. They usually don't, but just as a precaution. And I just kind of rub my burnishing tool on the corners just to make sure that they're sharp. And we'll repeat the same thing for the opposite side. Push those corners down. Alrighty, and then edge. Okay, so you might want to stop the video there and do the other two pieces of chipboard so you have all three of those done. And again, I would mark left, middle, and right on my chipboard, okay? So they're pretty close, but there's just a hair difference in the width. So the next thing is the spine piece, which was 1.5 by 8, and the paper, oh, that's the 8.5 by 10. The paper, I think I threw it away. What did I go with, 5.5, I think? Why'd I throw that away? The paper is actually going to be 3 inches larger than the width. So if this is 1.5, we need 4.5 wide, and then we'll do 1 inch on the top and the bottom, so that's 10. So you'll need 2 of these that are 4.5 by 10. Let me see something. Is it easier to see if I... You'll need 2 that are 4.5 by 10. And now this time, the tool I'm going to use, you can use 2 different spacers. This is my 1 inch and this is 1.5. So it's the 1 inch that goes to the top and the 1.5 goes to the side. And I have already put score tape on the back of my spine piece. And I'm just going to take off the backing. Okay, and then you just bump it up against the top and the side. And I don't need my spacers anymore. All right, so just like we did the cover pieces, we're gonna do the same as far as folding the paper up and over the chipboard to kind of give it a memory so it knows where it's supposed to fold over and to crease it. We'll do that to all 4 sides. Now we're not going to wrap the long side, so don't try and work ahead if you're not familiar with how to put a book together. I mean, obviously some of you are pros, but do not wrap these around the chipboard. Those are going to stay open to connect our book. So then just like before, I'm going to take my tool here, my burnishing tool, and just go right up against the edge of the chipboard so it has a real defined edge, and I'll do that on all 4 sides. Oops. Okay. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut off at an angle to get rid of some of the bulk. On the outside rectangles, I'm going to go from the diagonal there, like so. And we'll do that on all 4 corners, just on the outside rectangles. So I do just want to kind of go over my scores or my folding again, because this is going to get a lot of action from opening and closing our book. All right, now I still use a little bit of score tape. I just want my book to be real durable. So I do just put a little bit on the ends. You notice how I did not use my cutter, so it's jaggedy, but okay. All right, so we are going to still put glue up against the chipboard, and we're going to fill in this whole section. So the whole trapezoid area. And I'm also going to put a little bit of glue on the side of the chipboard where the paper is going to fold over, just so it has a good grasp of the paper. So I'm going to bring this up and over. I do the middle first, make sure that's down. Then I take my tool here and I'm going to push it up against the spine chipboard and then out so it lays flat. And then I'll do that to the other side also. And I do like it when it oozes a little bit, so on this part, so that I know it's going to stay and have a good seal to it. And then just like that, I'll do the other side too. Chipboard, a little on each side. I'd say I'm putting about 1/4 to 1/2 inch up. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna give it a real firm burnish. All right, and go ahead and do the edge. All right, so we're going to take our scissors. We need to get rid of some more bulk, and we don't want any of the paper hanging over the top of our book when we attach it. So I'm just going to rest my scissors against the chipboard here and slightly taper. And I will do that on all 4 sides, or corners, I guess I could say. And I am just going to go one more time and make sure that I have that defined line. All right, so it's time to connect the covers to the spine pieces. So I'm going to start with my left-hand side. So this is the one that's 6.5 by 8. And I'm going to be attaching it to my spine like so. So I'm going to put adhesive here, and how I do that is I use 3 strips of the score tape, one at the very bottom here or at the edge, one in the center, and then one closer to the top, but I do not put it up against the chipboard because I'm going to use glue there. So I'll remove the backing, and then like I said, I'm going to fill in with wet glue. So in between my score tape pieces. Oh my goodness. This is so frustrating to me. Get out. There we go. And then I'm just going to do a fine line here at the top, and again, not right at the chipboard. Okay, it's going to be nice and give it a burnish. Okay, like so. So now we're going to need the middle piece. That's the one that's 6 7/16, and we're going to attach that one to the opposite side. So again, I'll do my tape first. And one more closer to the top, but not to the chipboard. Burnish that tape down, remove the backing, and we'll fill in with wet glue. Okay, and again at the top, but not right at the chipboard. I have a little bit of a space. And line that up. And burnish that side down. So that's what we have so far, like a normal cover, but we need to add then one more spine piece and the back. All right, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and do both sides of the spine with the tape while I'm at it instead of doing it separate. 1, 2, and 3. So I am making this in winter, and I do know that it's a little bit colder, and my paper seems a hair dry, but it's not really cracking. Sometimes with the black that might happen a little bit, but I just take my finger with a little dab of glue and just run over the part that might have had a little bit of cracking. All right, remove just one side. Whoops. And fill in with glue. We're gonna lay this right up almost to the chipboard. I have like a hair difference, like a hair of a space, not much at all. And now the last one, that's our piece that is 6 3/8. That's the back cover. Where's my, there it is. Okay. I remember doing this before I did the lay flat method, and oh my gosh, it was so hard to work with those long pieces of paper to cover. It was very stressful. Now it's so easy to do it this way. Okay, almost done with the cover. We just need to cover our spine pieces now. And I'm going to use a piece of black artisan for that also. You can always go back and add your pattern paper, but I like to do artisan first. Just kind of reinforces it. Then you can have that extra layer of paper for protection. So this is how she looks right now. It's real floppy, and so when we put our paper on, it will become much more firm. So you're going to need 2 pieces of the black artisan for the spine covering, and those are 5.5 by 7 7/8. We do want it to go over our paper just a little bit so that it's more smooth instead of having 2 rough bumps. Okay. So I have already put adhesive on the back. I don't like to use the wet glue on this part, because sometimes I do notice it doesn't lay as flat and gets a little ripply, but some people use it and that's totally fine. But I just use the dry adhesive, and it's 1/8 of an inch shorter than the book. So the book is 8 inches tall. That's why this is 7 7/8. Okay. And then if you have any overhang of your tape, just bring it up and over so it's not hanging out. Just kind of run my finger around the edges. I think we're good. Okay, and now you just center it over your paper and your spine. Want that to stick real well. I did have a little bit there that I didn't tuck in. And we're not going to do anything else until we give it a chance just to stick. And I'm just kind of running. I have a I'll let it sit for a second. Okay, and now same thing on this side. That's your other piece. That's 5.5 by 7 7/8. And then again, we'll cover it so that it covers the black paper, so it's smooth, and it's 1/8 of an inch shorter than our book. Okay. Take off the backing. Come on. See if I have any that I need to tuck around. I think that's good. Okay, center. So now I'm going to lift this so that I can tuck in that paper. Do that gently, we don't want to rip anything. And so now we have a much stiffer book. Yeah, this is the right way. All right, so now we are ready to move on to the actual decorative parts on the inside. Don't see any cracking, so that a little bit maybe there. I think it'll be fine. Okay, so the next part then, we are going to start layering our cardstock to make our interaction and our flips and our flaps and our different components and pockets, and so that's what's coming up next. So I'm going to kind of sit down. When I design books, I kind of design as I go, and so I need some time now to look things over, and then I will come back and we'll get started. All right, so since I kind of design as I go, I wanted to get the cover kind of figured out in my head. So I did do some matting, and obviously this is not done yet, but if you want to go ahead and mat first, I did the red. It's about 6 3/8 by 7 7/8. Then I did the glitter, black glitter paper at 5 1/2 by 7. And then this white paper with the love letters on it is 5 1/4 by 6 3/4. Okay, and so I did that on the front and on the back, and I had to adjust the back just a little bit because remember that one's just a hair, like a 1/16 smaller, so you might have to do a little bit of adjusting. And then on the sides, I did 1 1/2 across, because once you put the paper on, you don't have to go down an 1/8 of an inch. So this is 1 1/2 wide, the red is, and it's 7 7/8 tall. And then the black is 1 inch by, I don't remember what I did, 1 by 7. And then I did 3/4 by 6 1/2. Okay, so you might want to jot that down, and I did that on both sides. And I have a front cover that's kind of fun that's coming, so we'll get to that in a second. So we're going to start going to the inside, and before we get too far, we're going to start with some magnets because I don't want to forget. So I'm going to put a magnet on the inside front cover, and then it'll match up with the one on the right hand side. So I'm going to use these basic gray magnets from Country Craft Creations. And I'm just going to use one, and hopefully that will do the trick. Ouch. So I just need to get a positive and a negative. There's my positive. Oh, where'd it go? Positive and a negative. And if you are like me, you have forgotten to put on the magnets many a time, so that's why I got to remember to do it first. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put one on first. So I'll take the backing off. I don't want it too close to the edge, so I want to move it in a little bit. About right there is fine with me. I'm going to get a piece of score tape and just lay that over the top so it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, and now I'm gonna get the match, which I laid down right here. Okay, and then I'll take the backing off of that. And I'm going to set up my book so I can see that it's lined up correctly. Oh. And I'm just pushing it to make sure it is going to stick. And then I will also put a piece of score tape on top of that one. Now this has to be somewhat flat on this side because the front cover just lays directly on top of it. So I wanted something fun and not boring. So I'm going to do, yeah, that's good. I'm going to do something, well, so on the front is going to be a tic-tac-toe board, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I wanted one more game type of idea. And so this is going to remind you of hopefully like the memory game where you flip over the cards to see, okay? So the first thing you're going to want to do is cut your pattern paper, and I just wanted it to be 1/8 of an inch smaller. So mine is about 6 1/4 by 7 7/8. I did ink the edges, okay, and I'm going to lay that down first. So don't forget to remove the backing. And I'll just put some glue on the back here. Might be easier if I open my book all the way flat when I put this on. I always like to put plenty of glue on. I don't want it to go anywhere, not that it will, but I especially want to make sure I get those corners real well. And I think I'm going to open it up, and I'm just going to line it up. Okay, and give it a good burnish, especially where that magnet is. Okay, where's my other? There it is. Get those corners real well. Any excess glue, get that out of there. Okay. So what I found was in the collection is this Valentine Memories. I thought perfect because I'm doing like a memory game, and that's going to go in the center when we're done. But I wanted to like flip things over. So we're going to do some flips, but underneath would probably be a picture, not a number. So here's what you'll need. 6 pieces of cardstock that are 2 by 3 5/8. And it has to be 2, not a hair bigger, because it's going to be pretty tight up here. The 3 5/8 inch is where we're going to do a scoring of 1/2 inch on all 6 pieces. So place the 3 5/8 across the top and score at 1/2 on all of them. I'm not going to miter. I'm going to burnish though. And then you're going to pick out paper, and because it's 2, I went 1 7/8 and by 3, okay? And I did ink those also, so I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. And I've already done the other 5 to save some time. Okay. Okay, so now comes somewhat of a challenge because we want things lined up, and I don't have the patience to do a bunch of measuring, so I go by my sight. I'm going to go by how it looks, but I have laid it out, and I know that it is going to be a tight squeeze. So what's going to happen is we're going to do 3 on the top, And you're probably thinking, oh, you're gonna see that little black 1/2 inch tab. No, we're not. I'm gonna fix it. So there'll be 3 on the top, and then 3 on the bottom. Here's the last one. Like so. And then our label is gonna go here. And normally I would like to pop that up, but I can't on foam squares. I can't because of where it's located in the book, okay? So this could be tricky. Like I said, I'm gonna go by sight. So I'm gonna do my end pieces first. So I'm gonna go ahead and place glue on the 1/2 inch, and I'm gonna go almost to the top and pretty much all the way to the edge because I know it's gonna be tight. And I gotta get that excess glue off there. And I'm not using any magnets or anything. We just want it to be burnished real well so it stays down. Okay, so now I need to put this one on, and I'm using this dot paper so I can kind of tell by the dots if it's lined up. And I'm going pretty much to the edge here too. So yeah, that'll be about right. Good, okay. I'm gonna leave that middle one in there though, so I can kind of make sure I'm lining it up pretty. Maybe I'm gonna turn this upside down. That might help me. So I can see. So about like so. How can I keep losing my burnishing tool? Okay. And now we'll do the middle one, and we'll center it between the two. Looks pretty good. Okay. Now I am not going to put paper behind the flap because I think it's going to get a little bit too bulky if we add pictures too. So then what I'm going to do is I took red paper and I inked it, and I'm going to end up gluing it right like so that when you open it, you don't see that black tab and you have a place for a picture. Okay, so I'll do one. Like I said, I did ink these. These are 2 by 3. 2 by 3. I'm just gonna bump it up against that crease, that score mark. Before you push down, make sure, oh, see, I gotta move that over a little bit. That's pretty close. I don't think you'll notice once all the flaps are down. Okay, so we'll do that to all 3. And then we're gonna go to the bottom and do the same thing. So this time I start with the opposite pattern. And I wanna be the same distance from the bottom. And again, I'm just eyeballing this. Okay. And let's get a piece of red. Be pretty good. You might have to trim a little bit. it won't bother me because I think they're going to be so close together that you won't even really notice if there's a hair that sticks out. Perfect. Okay. I'm wondering if I'm going to have to put something to keep these down. I may have to. Okay, so now I'm going to do the last one again. I'm going to flip it upside down. So I want to line it up. And I'll put this one down just to kind of give me an idea of where to place this one. But I kind of have a little bit of a game theme. If this is a friendship or a happy mail thing, I thought games would be kind of a cute theme. So it's right underneath those dots. Okay. And let's put the last one on in the center. And it should fit right in between there. This one's kind of close. Get rid of any excess glue. Okay. Let's flip it around again. Okay. Oh, I like it. I like it. And then when you open it, you'll have this. Okay, so now let's go ahead and place, we'll just center this. I did mat it on the sparkle paper. All right, and I want to center it, not upside down. All right, that works for me. Now I'm going to feel weird if I don't finish the red. I need to be thinking about how I want these to stay down. If I need a strap, or maybe they'll just eventually lay down on their own. I'm not really sure. All right, I've got all my red paper ready, so I just want to go ahead and finish that real quick so you can fast forward this part if you want to, or you can get caught up. Remember, as you lay it down, double check that it's not, that one needs to go over here. That's good enough. Okay. Do the last one in that row. So with some things I'm a perfectionist, some things not so much. So this might be one of those things that you want it to turn out a little bit more precise. So if that's the case, you start measuring. Oh, that's totally off. Okay. I didn't do this one straight. All right, let's finish the other side. So because that magnet's there, that's going to keep it down. Okay, that one I got in the right spot the first time. Okay, one more, and then we'll move on. We will move on. Okay. All right, so let's take a look. I want to close it again just to make sure that it does stay down. And I should have probably put a magnet on the inside here too, but I did not. But there'll be stuff lifting this up. Okay, so let's move on. We are now going to do the left side over here. And we're going to need 2 pieces. Those are going to be 6 3/8 by 5 1/2. So give it a dry fit to make sure that it's not going to go into that crease, the spine area. And get your scoreboard ready. And you're going to put the 5 1/2 inches across the top and give it a burnish at half. And I am going to corner round mine on the bottom. And I will put the paper on later. You might want to put yours on now to make it a little bit easier to work with. Go ahead and burnish. And these are going to be flaps that go up and down. And I'm also going to be putting a cut apart on here to help keep it, the weight on there. So we'll have one up here and one down here. And then I am going to end up putting a card here to kind of give it some weight. And I'm going to go pretty much to the top and to the bottom. I think I will miter just to be on the safe side. And I'll do that to both. And let's get some glue. It doesn't matter which one you glue first, top or bottom, because they're not, don't get in the way of each other. And I want to make sure I go more to the left. I don't want a problem with the crease. I got to look left and right to make sure they are lined up evenly. That looks about right. And give it a score or a burnish. I say that word so often. Burnish. Okay, I'm going to turn it upside down. And now when we glue it, we do want to make sure that we line it up side to side so that they line up nice and neat. So put your glue on the 1/2 inch. Putting it almost all the way to the top, just a hair. And I want to make sure it's lined up, and that looks about right. And I'm trying to decide if I want to do anything else to this one. I don't know, I might put something later, but right now that's all I'm going to do, because we don't want it to get too thick. That magnet's going to barely keep her closed. Yeah, if I were you, I would put another magnet on this side too. It's too late for me, but it's not too late for you. Okay, so now let's open this, and we're going to work with the right-hand side. You're going to need 3 pieces that are 3.5 by 7 7/8, and one that is 3 3/4 by 9.5. And the first one we'll work with are the 3 pieces that measure 3.5 by 7 7/8. And we're going to score on the 3.5 inch side at 1/2 inch. Three and a half across the top. Give her a score at 1/2. I am going to miter these. And I'm going to do that with the other ones too. I've already scored the other ones, so do that to all 3. All right, let me clean up here. So what we will do is we're just going to make like a little booklet, and we're going to glue one on top of the other. And we will have a way to keep it closed. And last one we just did. All right. So my score is on the right-hand side. Make sure they line up nice and neat. If there's a smaller one by hair, put that one at the bottom. Okay, so on the bottom one, with the 1/2 inch to the back, I'm going to go ahead and glue this one on top. I need my mat. I'm going to turn it so that the 1/2 inch is toward me so I can line it up easier. And I'm going to go all the way to the edge. That looks good. And we'll go ahead and put the other one on top. Again, you might want to put your pattern paper on now before you attach it to your book. I normally would, but when I record, it's just faster and easier to do it later. All the way to the edge. You can corner round if you want to. I don't think I'm going to. Okay, this will go on the right hand side, and we're going to glue it over here on the far right, like so. Gotta make sure that I burnish the ends here. Okay. On the 1/2 inch. And I'm going to turn it so it's easier for me to work with. I hope you can see. And I'm just going to the edge here. Okay. And push down very firmly, and then open it up and burnish it on the inside that way too. Especially those corners, the edges. And you might get a little seepage of glue, just wipe that off. Like that. It will dry clear if you're using the art glitter glue, but we still want it to look nice and neat. All right, so I did show a sneak peek where I made these 2 tags. They are out of lightweight chipboard, and I just, what are the measurements of this? This is 4 1/4 by 6, and then I angle cut the top. I just put patterned paper. I had to put a little pocket on the bottom. There's no 1/2 inch border though. There's just a piece of paper. So I think it was 4 by 2. Corner rounded the bottom, but there's no 1/2 inch because that gets too bulky. Just put in a cut apart on white paper. This is a cut apart, and I just put 2 little flags. And what's going to happen is we're going to make a pocket, and it's going to be deep enough that I can put these tags in there. And it'll look so pretty. So we need a little depth to our pocket. So that's what we're going to do next. So we're going to work with the piece that is 3 3/4 by 9 1/2. And we're going to make 2 score marks on 3 sides. That's at 1/2 and at 3/4. So I'm going to start with the 9 1/2 inches across the top. That does. Yeah, 9 1/2. Yep, that's right. I'm going to score at 1/2 and at 3/4. So we have that 1/4 inch gusset. Turn it 1 time so that the short sides across the top. Score at 1/2 and at 3/4. And do it 1 more time. 1/2 and 3/4. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish all of my score marks first before I do any cutting. Sometimes it's hard to burnish those 1/4 and 1/8 inch scores, but we'll get her. Where's the score mark? Here it is. Is that right? Yep. And the last one. Okay, so we want to leave the square that is attached at the 1/4 inch intersection. Let's see if you can see that closer. There's a little square here, but we're going to cut around that square. Those 3 pieces along the outside we're going to cut off. So this skinny rectangle, this square in the corner, and that little rectangle. Leave the square there. And I'm just going to cut straight on this score mark. That's a really tiny notch, but will make it work. And I am going to have to release that so that that is free. And that's going to end up helping us keep everything attached nice and neat. Okay. On that 1/2 inch, I'm going to slightly miter. Like so. Yep, perfect. Okay. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Take out the 3 quadrilaterals on the outside of the square. I'm going to cut straight for right now on the score. Take off the 2 on the right. Yeah, that's not good. And now we need to release that little square. And I am going to slightly miter right here on that 1/2 inch. Okay, now if you want to, you can put a notch right here. I'm not going to, but some people like that look, so you can do that. Now would be a good time to do that if you want. And it would be much easier if you put your pattern paper on first, because it's going to have a 1/4 inch gusset and you'll have to be pushing down, and that's just not what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out my paper, and I cut 1/8 of an inch shorter. So this is 8, so it'll be 7 7/8 and 2 7/8. That's how long the dimensions of my pattern paper. Okay, I ended up matting the pocket first with the pink hearts, and then I went ahead and did the black with the white hearts on top. So I went 1/8 of an inch shorter. All right, so now it's time to glue our pocket. So we're going to take this tab, we're going to place glue on the outside, and we're going to bring it up so that it matches the 1/4 inch piece and makes a perfect corner. So I'm going to do one, just putting the glue on that little tiny piece, bringing it up, and I'm lining it up with the 1/2 inch, and I'm just going to hold it for a second, give it a chance to dry. But you want a sharp corner, so, and you can use clothespins right now or a clip of some sort to keep it there. And let's go ahead and do this side also. Glue on that little 1/2 inch tab and line it up. I'm just going to pinch it. Okay, so now we're going to bring the bottom up and have the sides to the outside. And we're just going to put a little glue down here at the bottom. You just want to make sure it's nice and square. So just put a little bit of glue down here at the bottom. And look at it to make sure it's square. That one looks okay. I think I'm going to get... a little clip here just to kind of hold it for me, and I'll put a little glue down here on the bottom of this one, bring that over, and I'll get a clip for that one too. And so we'll have that 1/4 inch gusset. So because my tags are made out of lightweight chipboard, they're going to be heavy enough to keep this down when we put them in, and it'll be thick enough that they'll both fit inside. Okay. And you'll see that there's enough distance between the flap and this that it'll keep it down. All right. So I am going to glue this to the book. You do want to be aware that when you put the pocket on, you need to be able to bring this this cover up and over. So be very careful when you're placing it that you don't go too close to that spine piece. I'm going to raise mine forward, move it a little bit to the right if that makes sense. So here's my spine. I'm going to move my pocket over just a little bit more to the right so that it can close nice and neat without getting in the way of closing. All right, so let's put glue on all 3 sides on the 1/2 inch. Okay. And I already did a dry fit to know that it's gonna fit. And I'm going all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom. So I'm using my hands as a guide. And I'm gonna take this and burnish the inside so that those 1/2 inch flaps stay down. This one's not staying down yet. All the way down there. Okay. I still feel like the bottom isn't all the way pushed down. All right. So then I went back. I didn't like the straight corners after all, so I had a punch that I punched the corners, the edge of those flaps. So these will go down, and then you can insert these 2 tags. This one's not all the way down. There we go. And so, yep. That's what we have. Oh, that's got glue coming out. Now, if you want, you can put some paper here. I don't know if I will or not. I do need to get rid of that glue though. Ugh. Okay. All right. So far, so good. Oh, I really wish I would have put magnets on the other side. Okay. So it's time for this center part. So let's get our papers. We'll start. We're gonna have a flap. And we're gonna have a double pocket underneath the flap, and then we're gonna have a belly band with a waterfall. So let's start, I guess, we can start with this flap. So here are the measurements. You can start cutting. Oopsie, not that one. So you'll need one that's 6 1/4 by 8 3/8. That's this one, and that's gonna be that top flap. And I probably will use, I'm gonna do it right now so I don't forget, not that one. I have the scallop punch. Okay. So this was 6 1/4 by 8 3/8. You'll place it across your scoreboard with the 8 3/8 across the top, and you're going to score at 1/2, like we seem to always do, huh? Close my glue. I get so much glue on my fingers. Yuck. Okay. I don't know how people can stay clean. My hands always get filthy. Okay. So the 8 3/8 across the top, score at 1/2. I did the punch on the opposite end. Miter, or burnish and then miter. So we're going to take a slight angled cut on both sides of that on that 1/2 inch piece. Okay, you're going to need one that is 4 by 8 7/8 and one that is 6 1/4 by 8 3/8. Okay, I'm trying to figure out that 6 1/4 by 8 3/8. Six and a fourth. What is that? Hold off on that one until I figure out what that is. These are the, let me think. This is the waterfall. This is the waterfall base. What the heck is that? Oh, it was this. Okay, yikes. All right, so then we're gonna end up putting a belly band on top of that. And then that belly band will have a waterfall. But I'm gonna move this all to the side and worry about that in a minute. Sorry, I should have done this the double pocket first. Okay, so let's do those. You'll need one that's 7 1/4 by 4 and one that's 7 1/4 by 3. And it is a stacked pocket. So what we need to do is take the one that's 7 1/4 by 4, and you score it 1/2 on 3 sides. So with the long 7 1/4 across the top, score it 1/2, rotate it once, score it 1/2, rotate it one more time, score it 1/2. That's going to be the bottom pocket. Now on this one that's 3 inches, you're only going to make 2 score marks. And that is with the 7 1/4 across the top, score at 1/2 on each end. Okay. Now, what you're going to do next is get your pencil, and with the 3 inches across the top, put a tick mark at 1 1/2, and do that on both ends. A tick mark at 1 1/2. We need that guide for when we stack the pockets. All right, let's do the main pocket first. I always like to burnish first before I cut my pockets. Doesn't matter, but that's what I'm used to. And now I do want to do well, let me cut off the corners. So there's a square. You're going to cut that square off at an angle on both ends. And I'm not going to miter the top. I'm going to leave that the way it is for right now. Let's get our book and just do a dry fit to make sure, because remember the back piece was a hair. Yep, perfect. Ooh, yay. Okay, so do a dry fit first. Now the next one, go ahead and burnish the 1/2 inch mark sides. Now what we need to do is we're going to cut on that tick mark that we made to the score, and then we're going to angle down. So it's going to look like this. The 1/2 inch cut straight over to the score mark, like so, and then we're going to angle cut it. So it looks like that. Do that to the other side too. Cut straight across on that tick mark, and then angle down. So what's going to happen is once we glue this down, we're going to slide this down, and it will know when to stop, because it will be stopping because of those 1/2 inch tabs on the original pocket. So what you need to do is put glue on the 3 sides. I think I left my pin out too long, and there we go. Come on. Why does it do that to me too often? There, maybe? Something's getting stuck. Wouldn't be a Kim video unless I had problems with my glue. Oh my gosh. Messy. Okay. Push the two sides in. Oh, I got quite a bit of glue there. Go to the bottom, about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. Look at the sides to make sure that they're equal. I get some extra glue here. Give that a good burnish. I don't know how I got that glue there. All right, so now we'll just put glue on those little 1/2-inch tabs at the top, and it's going to slide down like so, and we'll know where to stop because the tabs hit one another. All you do though is put glue on the tab. You don't need to put glue anyplace else, and then that pocket will go all the way down to the bottom. And burnish that down. And that's our layered pocket for the inside. Nice. Okay. So I had given you the measurements before, but here is that 6 1/4 by 8 3/8 piece, and we scored it at 1/2 on the long side. Did a little corner punch at the bottom. The piece that is 4 by 8 7/8, this becomes the base for the waterfall, and it's also a belly band. So with the 8 7/8 across the top, score it 1/2 on each end. So where's my scoring tool? So 1/2 on one end, rotate it and do 1/2 on the other end. We do not need to miter this because it's not at the end of a page. Okay. And I need to make sure I'm going to do a dry fit on our flap, and I'm going to center this to make sure it's the right. I think that's going to work perfectly. Okay, good deal. So that is going to end up going on top of the flap. And now I did not know quite for sure how many pages or how many flips. So I did 8, and these are the ones that are 4 by 4 1/2. And you're going to place the 4 1/2 inches across the top, and you score at 1/2 on all of them. Don't do any mitering. So it's the 4 1/2 inches across the top, scored 1/2. So now it's going to become 4 by 4 when we put that flap behind. Don't miter the 1/2 inch. You can do something with the bottoms if you want. You can corner round it, angle it, stub, whatever. I don't know if I'll do anything or not yet. I'll just kind of look to see how it looks. Oh, I got so much glue hanging off my fingers. Okay. And we'll probably need one more magnet. I know we will. So if you have another magnet, get that handy. All right, so let's see. I don't know how many I needed. 2. It's gonna be close. It might not be perfect, but what am I doing? Okay, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can do 7 if you want, or I'm going to do the 8th. I'll do all 8. Okay, so I'm going to bump up my band up against the side of my scoreboard, and that'll help guide me as I'm placing this on top. And it'll make sure that it stays straight, I hope. So I'm going to line that up on okay. And let's go ahead and put glue on the 1/2 inch. All the way up at the top. Make sure it's lined up side to side. Okay, so now I'm going to actually turn my scoreboard this direction so I can continue to use the scoreboard as a guide. I'm going to bump this up against the 1/2 inch piece. Don't go over. And I want to make sure that it's staying lined up. And just continue doing that. Okay. What am I on? The 4th one? Getting there. Right up against the 1/2 inch. Two or 3 more here. The more you burnish this, the flatter it's going to stay. But I am going to put a magnetic closure on here just so I know for sure it'll stay closed. Sometimes I use ribbon, but I'm going to go the magnet route this time. All right, one more. So I do have a little bit of space down here that I don't like, but that's okay. It's not a 1/2 inch down at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and put all the pages down, and then we're going to get a 1-inch strip for our closure. Okay, so once you get a piece that's 1 by 5.5, you can be wider than 1 if you want to. It's just, oops, it's whatever your preference is. And then place the 5.5 inches across the top, score at 1/2. You know what, maybe I do want, I'll use a smaller magnet, that's what I'll do. Okay, so then this is going to be centered down at the bottom. So put glue on that 1/2 inch, and I'm gonna eyeball it. You can just find your 2-inch mark and then center this. Maybe I can look for the 2-inch mark, and I'm putting it underneath that last flap. Okay. And we're going to place a magnet. So this is also, these magnets are also from Country Craft Creations. And you put a little sticky thing on the back. It comes with this little sticker sheet. So I got the 2 sticking together. Oh, I have one left. So I'm going to put, so you take the backing off of the sticky, and then you place your magnet on top of it and peel that off. Okay, so that's what I have so far. Now I'm going to get another sticker to put on this side. So you just take the backing off the sticker. So the adhesive is still on here. I can't see it. Oh, for Pete's sake. And close it. And I probably will go back and just put a little piece of score tape just so it doesn't shift. These are pretty strong little magnets. Okay, so now get your flap, and we're going to center this on top and glue that. So I'm going to do the 1/2 inch at on one end first to make sure I get it lined up, and I got to turn this upside down. This is 6 1/4, so 3 1/8 is the center. 1, 2, 3. That looks about right. Open it up and burnish. And now we can put glue on the other 1/2 inch. Bring that straight down. And flatten it. Waterfalls are great for being able to get a lot of pictures. So I like to incorporate one in just about every book that I make, really. Now, if I were you, I would do my pattern paper first, and then I would attach this. And it's gonna go right here on the top, and you wanna make sure that you measure it up side by side. Make sure you get it lined up, and then that's what we're gonna go with. Nice. Okay, so I'm gonna finish the decorating part of it before I attach it. Not sure yet if I'm gonna go back and do anything in here, but I will let you know before I do it if you want to do it also. I feel like it might need something, but I don't know what. I'll have to think about it. Okay, so that's all I can do right now until I get my pattern paper on, and then we'll take a look at what the next step is. Okay, I want to show you the matting that I've done so far. I've done quite a bit. I haven't attached the flap yet, but let's take a look at the right-hand side first. So now that I have attached the pocket, it is deep enough that these 2 chipboard tags will fit inside, and it does keep the flaps closed. I haven't done any embellishing yet, just put the paper on. And so I did decorative paper on the front and a solid on the back. And I used the coordinating papers. It's that mint green color. And I did that on all 3, and then used this for the inside. And like I said, these are perfect now, and I could probably put more than these tags in also. Okay, so there's that, and that, remember, is on the opposite side here. In the center, the spines, I went ahead and put paper. I went ahead and still use 1.5. When I use the no flap method, I don't go 1/8 of an inch shorter on my spines, because once they're wrapped, that I just use the original measurement. The pockets here, I placed my paper. I did not put this paper on yet because we have to attach our waterfall flap. On the left, I've done the bottom here. I matted it in that mint green and this. I do have a concern, I haven't laid that down yet, that with all these layers of paper, my magnet may not be that strong. So that's something I'll have to deal with when I'm done, I guess. But I've done the arrows down here. So I just did about 1/4 of an inch smaller because I wanted it to be, no, it looks like 1/8. But I didn't have this paper wide enough. So I went ahead and did it, what did I do, 1/2 inch shorter? So this is about 6 1/8, 6 1/4-ish. But the black paper, I went 5.5. And so the glitter paper down here is also 5.5 wide. And then I put the hearts on and I went a little bit smaller. This is 5 1/4 wide. Okay. So I was just kind of using some of my leftover paper so it wouldn't go to waste. So I still need to attach that here. I've decided that I do want to put a pocket here. And so let's go ahead and do that pocket before we go to the waterfall, just so we can get that taken care of. All right, so for this piece, the measurement is 5.5 by 7. And let me get my scoring done with you. So on the 5.5 inch side, we are going to score at 1/2 inch on both sides. So score at 1/2, rotate it to the other 5.5 inch side and score at 1/2. When the 7 inches is across the top, we're going to score at 3. Okay. And again, this piece was 5.5 by 7. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish that 3 inch score line. And so I want my pocket to be a little bit shorter in the front than in the back. And now I need to do some cutting of those 1/2 inch sides. Okay. So I'm going to take off this and this to the score. Okay. These two, the long 1/2 inch pieces. And when I do that, I'm going to cut at an angle like so. So here's my score. I'm going to cut up to it at an angle. And now I'll get rid of this piece. And you can use your trimmer. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll get a straighter cut. Let's see. Same on the other side. I'll just cut it. not bad. And then I'll do that on the other side also, cutting off that long triangular piece. And now we're going to fold in the 1/2 inch sides that we kept. And then we'll glue that down to form our pocket. I feel like I need to do a little bit of adjusting. I am going to corner around the top of that back piece. Oopsie, this thing. Okay, and get your glue. Okay, let's miter. I forgot. I'm gonna miter the top of the 1/2 inch. Okay. Hold those sides in and bring it down. I have glue on my hand. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach that here. And then when I put something inside, the weight will kind of help keep it down. But I know darn good and well that magnet's not going to be able to keep this closed. Okay, so I'll put my pattern paper on here first, then you'll glue down this piece. Okay, so you want to make sure that you cover this with your pattern paper before you attach this. And you can kind of eyeball it as to where you want to place it. I'll probably go about here. Okay. And that ends up being then 4.5. So I know that a lot of cutouts are 4 inches, so that should be the perfect size. So that's what I'm going to do there. And now let's get that waterfall taken care of. I'll show you how I pattern papered that. I didn't do the undersides of the waterfall pages. Okay. All right, so I used the black sparkle paper on the outside of the closure piece. I added a cutout and I did mat that in the black sparkle paper. I cut down the 3x4 card just a little bit, and then I have that twine. I made a bow like where the bow was on the balloons and added 3 of the flat back pearls. So this comes down, and as of right now I didn't put anything on the back because I want that magnet to stay strong. I don't want to add any more layers. And so all of these pages are 4x4, so the paper was cut at 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. And then I did put a strip in between, so those are 3 7/8 by 3/8 of an inch. Okay, I left the backs plain. I did not add any paper there. Okay. And remember, it's open here, and I'm thinking I'm going to make a booklet, but I'm not 100% sure. And so on the back, then when you lift this over, you have to remember that you're going to decorate it so it looks like it's upside down. So when the 1/2 inch flap is down at the bottom, all I did was add a pocket. How wide is this? And I didn't want it to be too thick. I'll show you. So my pocket ends up being about, I just found a scrap, let's say 4 3/4. So the paper was 5 3/4, and it is 3.5 inches tall, and I did not give myself an extra 1/2 inch on the bottom. So it was 5 3/4 across, 3.5 tall. All I did was score the 2 sides and tuck them under, and then I did put a bead of glue down here so it would close it off to be a pocket, but I just didn't want to add any more depth. The top of the pocket, I used that fringe ribbon and just glued that down at the top. And then I had a little bit of black sparkle paper that I didn't want to waste, so I just glued some of that on top to kind of make it pop a little bit. And I tied a bow with the red seam binding and put that in the center. Okay, this is from the stickers. This is from one of the ephemera packets, and I just used foam squares to pop it up. And this is just a plain black mat for right now. Okay, so it is time to attach this to our book. And so I almost put the pattern paper on, and I thought, no, I got to attach my waterfall first. So we're going to center this, and it's going to go like so. And I'm going to do that upside down. So I'm going to turn this whole book upside down so I can see it better as I put it on. And now that I have the spine paper on, it's easier for me to see also where it needs to go. Okay, looks good. And I'm going to lather it up with some glue. I want to make sure I get a good firm hold. And I'll have to wipe off the excess. Don't want it to go anywhere. And I'm going almost all the way to the top. And I'm just going to make sure, yes, that's fine. Yep, that's fine. So I'm just giving it a quick push, and then I'm going to open it up and finish my burnishing. And I know, yep, I knew there was going to be excess glue, and that's okay. We're going to cover that up. All right. I love this paper. It's turning out so cute. And so now this paper is, I did the same for these. The width is 6 1/8 because these were, the pockets were 6 1/4. And I just made this a little bit longer. You don't have to make it all, take it all the way down to the bottom. We can save a little bit of paper. That is so cute. Okay, so let's glue that piece in. And just slide that underneath your pocket. And don't go over any of your score marks. And then we'll hold that flap in place. Really make sure you get those corners. Okay, and our book, let's see what it looks like. I know that's not gonna, the magnet's not gonna work. Yeah, not even close. I'll have to do a tie or something. Sassafras. But there's still plenty of room in there, so no problem. I'm probably going to add a little booklet. I might just set the booklet on top. I might put it underneath here. I don't know yet. Okay. All right, so that's going to go down. I probably will paper the back because when you flip it, you'll see the back here. To get ready now for the next part, I cut 10 hearts, and if you have chipboard, that probably would be the best. If you don't have chipboard, you can cut several layers and then glue them together. I know some people have a heart punch, so let me show you what we're going to do. So the cover of our book is going to be the tic-tac-toe. So I cut out, like I said, 10 hearts. And I put 5 of them with a red background and 5 of them with a black background. I haven't done this one yet. Okay, and so like I said, if you don't have chipboard, you can cut like 4 layers of cardstock and glue them together to give it that thickness. I put ink around the edges. I'm going to show you how I put these together. And then I just use stickers from this sticker collection. I have a punch that I made a little flower here. I used the pearls. I had a couple red buttons from a previous design team assignment that I did. So let's go ahead. I might as well do that now. Show you how to put those together. So with craft paper or with whatever paper you're using, if you have chipboard, that's great. If you don't have, I have a punch. You could just freehand one and then copy it over. But I need this one to be the black color. And so I'm just going to lay my hearts down. And I'll get my pencil. And I'm going to go ahead and mark the shape on my paper so I know how to cut the paper. It's kind of hard to see on that black. And then when you cut, you're going to cut to the inside. I need my glasses for this. You're going to cut to the inside on that line. Otherwise it'll be way too big. And we still may have to adjust. I had to get my X-Acto knife and, you know, cut off the excess. Okay. And we're going to glue that on. I'm not going to do any inking quite yet. And it doesn't fit perfectly. I'm going to go back and work with it a little bit. It's pretty close though. So then turn it upside down and see if you need to do any trimming. And I do. I gotta get my knife. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to use a sanding. I'm going to use a nail file or I have a little hand sander. So I'm going to take that and I'm just going to go around the edge so that if there's any excess, it'll kind of help get rid of it and mold it around that heart shape. I do think it's better to have, if you're using cardstock, to do several layers, not just one. I think you'd want some thickness to it. Now you're going to go and ink the edges. And again, we're doing 10 of these, 5 of each color. Okay. And then you can decorate it by looking at your ephemera. You can look at your sticker collection, see if you have any punches you can use. I can't find my pin. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I'm going to work with the ones that I've already made. And I am going to be using the piece of ephemera that says "You Brighten My Day," and I matted it on red, and that's going to go down here. Okay, now my hearts at the tallest point is 1.5, and at the widest point it's 1.5. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay these out like a tic-tac-toe board. Okay, and this is just for an example. And then I'm going to cut, these are about 1/4 of an inch wide. This is the black sparkle paper, and I got to cut it to size, but I'm going to lay it down to make a tic-tac-toe. I'll have to trim those, obviously. So again, these are about 1/4 of an inch. Okay. So once you cut it to size, you kind of have to look at the size of your hearts. I'm going to glue it down, the black tic-tac-toe and this little sign. But on the back of your chipboard hearts or your cardstock hearts, I'm going to use Velcro so that I can actually take it off and use it as an actual tic-tac-toe board. So I have Velcro circles from forever ago. I have square ones too, so I'll have to see which ones work best, and square ones might be too big. And then I will, just like a magnet, I'll glue one side of the Velcro on, attach the other piece, put glue on it, and then stick it down. And then you can actually use this as a tic-tac-toe board. Okay, now there's one extra because you might need 5 of the black sometime. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'll put Velcro on the back, but I'm going to then attach it to the spine. I'll put the extra one, I'll have Velcro on it, and I'll just put it here so that that extra piece is easy to get to. Okay, and that will be the spine. So that is that. I think I've covered everything. I'm just going to finalize and glue everything down, and I will come back to do a quick walkthrough. I will have done a walkthrough at the beginning also. You know what? I think I'll just do a walkthrough at the end, and I'll make a separate video for the final project. Okay, so it turned out super cute, I think. I might add a booklet. When I say a booklet, I'm just going to take a piece of paper, fold it in half, and put white paper in there. Just to have for writing or for scorekeeping or whatever. All right, so I will come back with a quick look at it when it's done, but I'll have a full walkthrough on another video. All right.